Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. Now in our 5th season, looking into the actual exciting happenings this season of Ipswich Town Football Club. I'm Richard Woodward and you're tuned into the midweek show, available every week on video and audio for a sometimes irreverent but always informative hour or more of football conversation. So make your Monday a Blue Monday, your Thursday a Blue Thursday. Whenever you're listening, it's a blue day. And he's bowed his head already to show us something on his head. Back once again, it's the Renegade Statman. Tell us about what you're wearing for people who are listening to it rather than watching.
I'm wearing a Denver Broncos hat, but Joe just before said it looks a bit like a Philadelphia Eagles one because of the colour. It's a St. Patrick's Day cap, so I was just saying that is a Broncos cap. Never wear an Eagles cap. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, how are you? Let me introduce the other member of the pod team, making his hat-trick ball appearance, 3 consecutive show appearances for ITFC Academy expert, football manager scout Joe Fairs. Joe, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Yeah,
enjoyed the sort of last few hours of sunshine of the summer.
That's it. It's gone. Game over. No more.
Job done.
Raining now. That's the new normal, and it'll get cold soon as well. But we need to be happy. The warmth of winter is much better when we're top of the league and we're all happy. We haven't got a game to talk about this week, so we've got all kinds of news.
Is this Ipswich or Coventry this week, Rich?
This is, well, either, Joe, either. Not mutually exclusive for me, which is good. So we'll talk a little bit about, we've got some new stuff to talk about. We'll talk about Tranmere, and we've got loads of questions as well, and some exclusives. We've done a bit of a preamble. There's some exclusive news we're going to break. It's going to be exciting, guys. So I've got to play stats right. I mean, what more do you want? This is epic stuff. Let's do some plugs. The first thing I want to do is actually congratulate Cole Yu on an epic penalty shootout win over Spurs in the League Cup last night, or on Tuesday night, wasn't it? My brother-in-law is a Cole Yu fan, and he took a mate to the game who videoed his reaction to the penalty shootout, and there's a video of him celebrating the winner, which I stuck the Titanic music on the top of for him as a kind of the nerdy video geek that I am. I did that for. So I just wanted to call out Cole Yu.
Yeah, I could have gone to the game last night, but I didn't really click it was the game because
this is it. Yeah.
One of my friends is a Spurs fan. He was supposed to be coming with me to the Spurs under-21s in the leasing.com trophy game, but he was ill. And then I said, well, I'll go when Spurs play Culture, I'll go with him. And he texted me yesterday saying, oh, it's Spurs Culture tonight, are you coming? And I thought, I can't really be bothered, I'm a bit cold to go and watch their under-20. I had a bit of a cold, so I was like, oh, I won't go. And then I sort of looked, I was like, oh, shit, it's Spurs first team there.
Actual proper game. Ericsson
in Spurs end, so it would have been a good atmosphere to see how unhappy they'd have been to lose on penalties to Culture. But I will be there for the leasing.com trophy game in a few weeks instead.
The proper match. That's the real quiz. And also, just want to start, before we forget as well, a little plug for Turnstile Blues. They've got a new edition out. I think it's our good mate Steve Moore who's editing this week, this month, or this, whatever it is. I've got what's on it as well. So Steve's got, this is controversial already, but not in the usual Turnstile Blue kind of way. Lambert introduction to ITFC with what's this? Comparing Lambert's introduction to ITFC with George Burley's. Lambert and Burley. What do we think about that? That's controversial. Something about an article from a Bury fan, James Bentley, on the failings that led to their departure out of the league. Steve Skeet talks about the community trust, which is obviously something we've talked about in the past. Again, controversial. An interview with Di Cunningham of Proud Canaries. But I'm sure that's not about Norwich. I suspect that might be a broader issues in the game, I hope. And an interview with BBC commentator Robin Cowan on the Women's World Cup. So the guys are usually in the Greyhound early doors, but you can find them outside the ground. And unlike the programme, usually they don't sell out until just before kickoff rather than at 2 o'clock. So you should be able to get a copy. Guys, you've read Turnstile Blues. I'm assuming you're happy to advocate and recommend that on behalf of the pod.
I nearly got arrested for Turnstile Blues.
Of course. Marcus Evans came out and
flashing.
Get off my land.
Flashing. Yeah, I really like Turnstile Blue, but comparing George Burley and Paul Lambert, that's a bit too soon. I'm guessing what they're saying is that they both took over a team that was struggling and couldn't keep them up in the league that they were in, and then they've like a rebirth. So I might give them that, but
it writes itself. We've already figured that one out. Yeah. Um,
I'm a bit worried about Proud Canaries. I don't think there's anything to be proud about there.
well, we'll get the edition and we'll find out. But yeah, always a good read, and I think it's still only £1. You can't buy anything for £1 now, so
it's great to keep paper fanzines going as well, because they are. I do love to grab, but even when I go to some away games, I pick up one of their fanzines just to try and give them a bit of support and keep them going, because I think they're sort of brilliant to see about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard, those were the days still only 50p?
Those are the days is available online.
That's what Phil Ham used to say. I always, go past like the Sir Alf Ramsey statue. It just whenever I go past, I see Phil going. Those were the days, only 50p.
It's now officially TWTD as well. Those were the days it's dropped.
Yeah.
There was the one season. These are the days. I remember that as well. Was there any other Ipswich fanzines back in the day? It was like From the Horse's Mouth is one or something. Dribble, yeah. Bring back paper fanzines. That's what I say.
Kobolds.
That's a great name. That is brilliant. There you go.
Straight from the Horse's Mouth was not a fanzine. That was actually a club supporters fanzine, and I know about that newsletter because I wrote in it.
Oh, brilliant!
So
I feel like we need to
buy some back copies. They're on eBay at the moment, going for £2.99.
£20. I feel like we need to do a Blue Monday fanzine at some point, but maybe that's me. Or a Panini sticker album. We were talking about stickers a few weeks back, weren't we? Collect the whole set. Who's the shiny? Ben's the shiny, isn't he? Of course he is.
Well,
we're all shiny.
Might go with Dave.
Dave's the shiny, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of the look at me doing it. This is hosting an action, guys. One of the items on the Turnstile Blues is an interview with a BBC commentator who did the Women's World Cup. Talking of women's football, let's do the news. That's a segue right there. Boom. Ipswich Town women on the back of a 7-0 away win at Stevenage find themselves second in the table behind Billericay, who they face. And a top of the table clash. It's like Ipswich versus Coventry in League One on Sunday. Big game this. They're playing really well. They've got something like a plus 17 goal difference, 5 wins, 1 draw, no defeats. Women's football's kind of had a big resurgence after the World Cup. This is it's obviously good to have both teams doing well, but the women's team is starting to get a lot more attention, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, and I'd just like to thank you for ticking off 15 things that I'd made notes of about what I was going to say about that. But that's fine. Yeah, it has taken off, and obviously the links with the club as well. And you've seen a few photos of like Norwood with some of the strikers or whatever from Ipswich Town women. So I think that's really good, and I think social media has helped to expand the grassroots level and. It is. It's taken off. I mean, I'm actually thinking of going on Sunday just to see what it is. So I just want to. There's a couple of things. I'll plug Sunday in a minute. But you talk about the 7-0 victory over Stevenage, and I went and found the goals. They're on YouTube, and a couple of things that stood out. The first goal was a penalty for a penalty for Town, and wow, the horrendous tackle! It was. You've just got to go on there just to see for being a poleaxed striker. That's certainly what happened. But the person who stood out for me was Sophie Peskett, who's 16, scored a hat trick. You've just got to look at her fourth goal to see that she really is a fantastic talent. So yeah, special mention for her, but also for Joe Sheehan, and he was particularly happy on
He's
Sunday.
The coach, yeah.
He's the coach, yeah. I think he had a concern that in the past that they were creating lots of chances and not scoring many goals from them. But I think obviously on Sunday they created lots of chances and scored 7 goals. So he was very happy with that. And as you say, they're now up against Billericay first versus second. It's at the Gold Star ground in Felixstowe, and this is not a criticism of the Ipswich Town women's, but I think we need to find them a venue in Ipswich. I think that would be important. But that's nothing against the Gold Star ground. It's a fantastic ground, fantastic facilities, and there's probably not many around in Ipswich, and that's something that we need to look at. But yeah, the Gold Star ground on Sunday, the 29th of September, 2 p.m. Free entry for ITFC season ticket holders, or £3 if you're an adult, or £1 if you're a concession.
Brilliant.
And they've got this song.
Hi, Joe.
Have you seen the song?
Joe, do you know about this song?
I don't know the lyrics, so I won't be able to sing it, unfortunately. But we know there's a guy that me and Stat play sort of NFL fantasy football with, who puts a hell of a lot of time in this on a sort of volunteer basis, really pushing the girls, sort of the women's team and the girls' game. And that I know they've got real high hopes for this season. They've got a really, really young team as well. There's a lot of 16, 17-year-olds in there. And I think the under-21s did really well in the Cup last year, beating some top academies like Arsenal, and sort of went quite far in the National Cup. So the future's bright for the ladies team, and there's a real push. I think the club are really sort of hoping to get up into sort of the equivalent of sort of the Championship over the next sort of 4 to 5 years. So
we're in kind of an
hopefully
Eastern League at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, and they've sort of picked up. I think they've picked up the academy and the sort of, I don't know the terms, but the sort of like the equivalent of the player development centres, the elite development centres, have been picked up by the club and sort of taken in-house, where previously they were done as sort of Suffolk FA. So they are taking it seriously, and it's sort of be a real boon if the ladies can continue to do well alongside the men's team.
Exactly right. Go on, Snap.
You'll be pleased to know that I've actually got the lyrics for the song, and I'm fairly certain that Joe will join in, because I'm only doing this to annoy everybody on those with the days who thinks it's rubbish. On Sundays we will follow. We cheer the girls in blue. Sheehan is our gaffer. He's Ipswich through and through. I thought my impressions were bad, but actually my tune is. I'm going to start. No, I'm going to start again. Natasha is our striker. Amanda is our skip, and we will not stop singing till we've won the championship. LA. If you didn't know what the tune was.
There we go. That's all we've got time for tonight, I'm afraid. No, that's brilliant. Well, there you go. So, 2 o'clock, Gold Star Ground, Felixstowe. If you've got a season ticket, you get them for free. They've got a great Twitter account. The guys doing the social media, they're doing a really cracking job. All the goals, all the footage is up really swiftly on online as well. So give them, if you're not kind of checked in and see how that team is getting on, definitely recommend that. And the good thing is, like traditional Ipswich Town, as the way things should be, our women's team are far superior to Norwich City's team, which you wouldn't think, given all of the money that they're awash with going now they're in the Premier League. We consistently beat Norwich, don't we? So including earlier this season. So yeah, go and give the women your support. Bringing it back to the men, under 23s match on Monday night. 90 minutes for Enciala and Corey Indaba. More on him in a second. Giorgio, Ilmazuni, Dobra all got a full match, and Garbutt got 60 minutes. But didn't go well for us, as much as the first team are on fire at the moment. The under 23s can't really get going. Poor Gerard Nash. Goal for Jordan Roberts after a minute, and then 3 goals before half time. Joe, you were able to watch. You watched this one on Facebook, didn't you? You weren't there, but you managed to watch the game. Anything you want to call out here? Any particular players who I don't think anyone really stood out, did they? But quite a few people who we probably had high hopes for. It wasn't their night.
Yeah, it's been really disappointing is an understatement for the start of the season. We're at this point last year we were sort of top of the league, while the first team were bottom of the league, and it's a total role reversal this year, which I'm sure most people are more happy it's to be this way than the other way. But 6 games, no points this year for this team, and it's really not good enough when you see the teams we're coming up against. I know Lambert doesn't particularly rate the under-23s league, and at the moment it's been used effectively just to get players fit for the first team, so it's really disjointed. There's players just being dropped in to play 45 minutes, 60 minutes. Sometimes they just look like they're going through the motions. They're sort of told just to get out there and play, which is obviously of benefit for the first team because that's what they're being asked to do, and you sort of don't want to criticise when it's going so well, but it is frustrating to see how poorly we're doing when there's some decent players there. But I think the biggest issues just defensively, we struggle at the back and we just let in far too many goals. Corey Indaba looks like his confidence is totally shot at the moment this season, which is a worry when he looked like he was going to be sort of making his debut towards the end of last season. Now he looks a mile off it. Toto Enciala, these games don't suit him. He just gives away too many fouls. I think he
quite a few mistakes, right? Really,
couple of penalties at Burnley. Yeah. He gave away free kick which led to a goal on Monday. Got booked again, and they're not. He's a sort of defender that likes to defend. He's not where under 23s football is more about sort of neat football as opposed to a battle. So they don't suit him at all. But I'm sure the minutes will be good for him, and Lambert isn't probably too worried about his performances. But it's disappointing the amount of goals we're conceding and the amount of chances we're conceding when we've got players that should be pushing for the first team in the defence.
Stat, one of the players who you were an early advocate for, Barry Cotter, found himself on the bench behind a rookie right back, I think, on Monday, wasn't it, Joe? Was it? What? Who was? Do you remember who the right
Riley? I think that's his first start for the under-23s, maybe even first appearance for them. So it would make me think that there's an issue with Barry Cotter in that he's probably played minutes elsewhere, or I don't think he'd be on the bench behind him for any other untoward reason other than he's just probably not at the right fitness level for it.
Are you disappointed, Stat, that Cotter hasn't either been able to, or for whatever reason hasn't pushed on as we hoped after that single appearance against Barnsley?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it, Barry Cotter, Corian Darber, and Aaron Drinan as well. You know, three players that, you know, when Mick McCarthy was tends to pick players from Ireland, you've got kind of your hopes are raised and thinking, is he going to pick a bit of a gem here? And I think at times I certainly thought he might have done, but massively disappointed with Corian Darber. Like you said, Joe, you know, towards the end of last season, there was talking about he was going to make his debut. I got quite excited. Do you think he's going to make his first team debut now, Joe?
Not anytime soon. You saw how little he was used in pre-season when he effectively was our fourth centre-back through pre-season, and he barely got minutes. He was behind James Wilson, who we obviously signed, and was it Guthrie, the other tried as John Guthrie, the other tried as we had. Miles Kenlock was tried at left back, at centre back. Basically, it was anyone but him playing throughout the rest of pre-season. And then towards the end of pre-season, we had an away under-21s game at Malden and Tiptree, and in Darber and Cotter dropped straight back into that, whilst sort of Dobra, El Mazzuni, Bailey Clements all stayed with the first team. And I think at that point, you sort of realised he's a long way from it.
Is it anything to do with attitude at all?
I don't know, so I wouldn't like to say, but it did seem that he was sort of very close to the first team, was told he was going to be making his debut, and then a few poor performances for the under-23s at the back end of last year, and he started off where he's left off, unfortunately. Yeah. But I do know that both, because obviously Barry Cotter went with Aaron Drinan to Sweden ahead of a potential loan move, and Drinan went there and Cotter didn't. What the reasons are, I don't know. I also know that Barry Cotter and Corian Darber with Bromley last week in the National League. Whether they ahead of a potential loan move, I don't know whether that is happening, or they've gone there for a trial now. Terms can't be agreed, or they don't want them, or so I don't know anything about it other than they were there ahead of a potential loan move. Bromley are currently top of the National League, so they are flying in the league and maybe just trying to put a little bit of investment into sort of bulk up their squad. But maybe we'll hear more on that.
Here's a question for you: Has any town player gone on loan to the National League or its equivalent and made the first team?
Not that I can. No. Well, actually, Luke Wolfenden went to Bromley for a bit, and he then subsequently went to Swindon following that. Yeah. But the other players are sort of your Shane McLaughlin's, Conor McKendry's, Chris Smith, even as far back as Jack Marriott, Adam McDonnell, George Fowler. A lot of these moves have been effectively your first step out of the club as opposed to coming back. But like I say, Luke Wolfenden did it, so there is hope.
Yep.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Next up, Wycombe home game, Saturday the 12th of October. Paul Lambert was into this week and talked about Norwood nursing a bit of an injury and the upcoming international break being an opportunity to give him a rest, which suggests that unlike like the Rochdale game, we'll press ahead with seeking to have that postponed. At the moment, only Georgiou has been called up. Expectation is that Judge will be called up again by the Republic of Ireland. Dizelle maybe Downs this time, and we'll go with
Dobra's been called up.
Dobra's been called up as well as he, and Il Mazzuni might go with Tunisia as well, Joe.
Yep. Either they're under 23s or their full squad.
Stat, are you supportive of us sitting out the international breaks, or what's your thought on the momentum? Because it kind of Doncaster was a little bit of a disappointing performance, albeit against a strong team, and then we rallied against MK Dons and Gillingham. But is it about momentum for you, or What's your
Well,
thoughts?
yeah, momentum definitely. But for me, I'd like to kind of consider the reasons that we would consider. We would look at it because we've started talking over the last three, 4, 5 games where we've suddenly got a strong squad. You look at the bench, and I think very difficult to pick who's in the team now because there are changes, three or four changes, and I think realistically, that could be a week where he was thinking, well, I was going to make the change for this, and I know that it depends who the opposition is, but it's Wycombe Wanderers, and I don't
Currently
mean
third,
to,
just to add
yeah.
that in there.
Well, I don't even look at the table because when the cream is at the top, the cream is at the top. Or what. So they're third, but I don't. We're at switch. I don't know. We are a strong team in League One, and I think with all due respect to the players that you listed that have gone, I still think that we're far too strong for any team in the league. And you're right, it stops momentum. We don't do very well after international breaks for whatever reason. I'd rather have points on the board instead of some kind of fixture pile up as you go towards the end of the season. And it's we moan about Rochdale and about going there, but obviously Wycombe, if that game is postponed or rearranged, then fans are going to have to come here on a midweek game. So no, dead set against it.
Yep. Joe, the fixture congestion point that Stat makes there is a really telling one, because one thing that we've not really talked about thus far is we've got leasing.com matches. We've also got 2 rounds of FA Cup that we don't normally play, which I think start in November as well. So is this fixture congestion going to be a problem for us, do you think?
Well, I think it could be. Like when you look at the Rochdale game, the time that's been rearranged for is the sort of Tuesday after we'd have been playing Bury in the league. So that doesn't really bring any extra additional congestion. But ultimately, the end of the season is where it is, and we've now going to have 1 extra game to fit in between now and the end of the season. Chances are we're going to get out of our leasing.com trophy group, because I can't imagine Lambert is going to want to lose to Steve Evans at Portman Road in a couple of weeks. So we're going to get through that. FA Cup, in the first 2 rounds of the FA Cup, I think Lowestoft Town are 2 games away from being in the first round of the FA Cup. So yeah, you could draw Sunderland away and go out in the first round, or Portsmouth away. I know neither team are flying in the league, but you could get a hard draw and go out in the first round. But realistically, you're going to be playing a team a lot further down the pyramid than you, and you should be able to beat these teams. And we're just going to end up with a lot of games potentially we're going to end up in a period where we're going to have sort of 5 or 6 midweek games in a row, and it just seems totally unnecessary. Where when you look back at the Rochdale game that was postponed, we could have just brought in Gwion Edwards or Jordan Roberts for Alan Judge, and that would have been the only change we'd have needed to make. It's not like and Alan Judge is sort of somebody who hasn't really been in the best of form all season. If you were losing James Norwood, Flynn Downs, obviously not an international, but Luke Chambers, and you're losing the whole spine of your team, I can understand it. But at the moment, we're just not really losing anything that really matters, and it just seems, it just seems a short-sighted decision that might come back to bite us later in the season.
A rest for Norwood, though, that's what Lambert, I guess, would say is the positive there. Any thoughts on whether that changes anything for you? Either of you?
If he needs a rest, then he needs a rest. But you just need to give him that rest. We've got other strikers that can play, like we did on Saturday. He only came off the last 10-12 minutes on Saturday, didn't he? And it wasn't an issue. If he needed a rest, just don't bring him on for the last 10 minutes. Bring Will Keane on instead.
Good shout.
Yeah,
good shout. So in terms of parish announcements or what have you, I would suggest that if you are planning to book train travel for the Saturday 12th of October to come back to Ipswich, wherever you're from, if you're not local like me, then you might want to put off that decision and wait and see what the club do, but sounding like it'll be postponed. Joe, a quick one for you. We've talked about Norwood just there. Apparently, according to the EADT, though there's no quotes in their article, James Norwood was a target for Paul Hurst last summer. The club thought that we could prize him away for a measly sum of 150,000, given his contract was due to expire, but Evans didn't sanction the move. Thoughts on whether this would have been as terrible a transfer for all concerned as it sounds like it might have been, because we were dysfunctional, let's not forget, and that was a 2-division jump for Norwood at the time, or 3, because Tranmere had just been promoted, hadn't they?
Yeah, so he was still in the conference effectively the year before. So yeah,
a bit of a stretch.
Well,
if true.
obviously, we'll never know if it had worked out or not. But I think it would have been unlikely to. It would have just been another player struggling to adjust to the step up. And like I say, I think it's worked out best for all concerned that Norwood's had another season, probably for his pocket as well. He's come away with a much bigger wage than he would have got had he sort of jumped straight up to the Championship for the National League. And he's come in flying. He's come in as the main man, where before he'd have maybe come in and not made an impact and just sort of drifted sort of back to that level. So I think it's worked out well for all concerned that he didn't come in.
He wouldn't have had that goal scoring season, would he? Which actually has established him now, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, he wouldn't be getting a number 10 shirt and being sort of the first name on the team sheet, would he? Like he has now.
Start anything to add on that one, or are we all agreed on that one? That
Completely agreed. Yeah.
Okay, good. Finally on the news. This is another topic of conversation that is a perennial on the pod, particularly the questions. Andre Dazelle, quoted, Paul Lambert has quoted saying he was pleased with Dazelle's performance against Gillingham. But here's the quotes, and I want to get both of your takes on this one. I was happy for him for the hour he was on. The kid's not played that much. He's a big talent, Andre Dazelle. He really is. Sorry, I should do the accent, really, shouldn't I? Given stats on the pod.
Any accent doesn't matter.
Then we're getting into trouble here because it's Scotland, isn't it? We've just got to get the balance of what his main strength is. If we get that, then he's a really good player. And he continued something about what's his main strength, whether it's scoring goals or assisting goals or being a playmaker. I think he's an in-between that at the minute because he's such a good footballer. He's only a young boy, that'll come. He'll settle into something that he's really good at. Joe, you've obviously seen a lot of Andre Dazelle. There's something in this, isn't there? It's quite telling that, and Ben and I think we talked about it a few weeks back. We just don't know how to play him to get the best out of him. Do you agree with this point? And any thoughts on what we can do maybe about it?
Well, I think we do know how to play him to get the best out of him, but it's whether it's basically in a deep line playmaker role to getting on the ball and getting the team ticking over. But whether Lambert feels he offers enough defensively for that role, you'd guess the answer is probably no, judging from how he's been used, that he wants to see Cole Skuse sitting there, which is understandable. And if Cole Skuse doesn't, you'd imagine it's going to be Flynn Down sitting deeper, because Dazelle is not a ball winner there. He is a ball player, and in this league, that might not be what is required at that position. Even in the league above, that might not be what is required. Even in the league above that, unless you are a sort of a top team, you can't really get away with just having a ball player sitting at the base of your midfield, can you? So it's a difficult one. But like I say, he's only started the 2 games this year. AFC Wimbledon, he's quiet, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he pulls that ball through to Norwood, which should give us a lead. On Saturday, the goal comes from the passing move. While it's nice to see stringing 20 passes together, it's going nowhere. Then all of a sudden, he just turns it around the corner, ignites the move, brings that tempo up, and the goal comes from that. And it's giving him that run of games so that he gets more confident, that he gets on the ball more and does it. And it's going to be hard for him to work his way into this side because there's such quality in that position ahead of him. But I don't know. I think there is such a talent there, and I think everyone can see that sort of passing ability and the vision he has, and the execution and the weighting of his passing is just on a sort of different plane to anyone in a squad, anyone in a division. And it's just a case of where you can hide his deficiencies and put those on display.
Stat, I've got a couple of questions for you. One's probably a bit of a devil's advocate question, so apologies for that. The first is that we've kind of moved to this 5-man midfield situation, albeit full-back, wing-backs out wide. Do you think that change of formation is an opportunity for Dazelle to get more games? And secondly, the quotes from Lambert and some of the stuff that Joe and we've all been saying on the pod is we need to do more to bring the best out of Dazelle. Is there something to be said for him having to step up and try to find a way to contribute additionally, rather than us just having to build everything around him? Am I being too harsh?
I think you do need to build everything around him.
Okay.
I think Joe's right. I mean, when the club tweeted the 26 passes or whatever, I must admit, from pass 1 to 14, I was like bored, skip. That's just like passing at about three yards. But then when it went to Dazelle, straight away he was able to change the game. I get that some people would see him as a bit of a luxury, but there's two things I want to say. One is the fact I don't like Paul Lambert refers to a 20-year-old as a kid. It kind of paints the picture, I think, to some people that actually is some sort of 16 or 17-year-old. You know, he's 20 years old, and you look at some of the players in the past how many appearances they've made when they've made 20. But secondly, I don't think he's played under the right manager, and I don't think in Ipswich's decline over the time that he's been with us, it's not the right club for him. And I think Joe's right. You know, if he was playing, if he was in an academy that had got himself into some Premier League side,
don't say the N word. Don't say the N word. Norwich.
Well,
but
he would play better in their team at the moment than he would ours. And you have to ask yourself the question: why is that? Are we ever going to be able to help him achieve what we think he can do? But I just think I think if we were going to go this season, I'd use him. He's your luxury. He's the player who's going to change those 0-0s away to 1-0 when you bring him on with 30 minutes to go, and he's got the passes to unlock it. But I think it could be quite a tricky season for him.
Do you think, Joe? Do you think League One is kind of we kind of talked about the under-23s league being a bit crap and a bit of a waste of space? Do you think League One is wasted on Andre Dazelle?
I don't think it's as poor as I expect it to be. I think the standard is low, but it's not just kick and rush, is it? When you see the teams we're playing against,
it's both boxes, isn't it? I think the issue is the quality in both boxes.
And it's in between, and like we're playing a lot of counter-attacking football. We create a lot of chance on the counter-attacking, and even I know it's sort of Vincent Young that did all the hard work to give Judge's chance on Saturday, but it was Dazelle that won the ball back and just gave it simply to Scouse, who then gave it to Dazelle and went to Vincent Young, who went from there. So there is definitely room for somebody playing a bit deeper who can pass the ball like he can when we're looking to use our pace to hit teams on the break. It's just making sure his deficiencies are hidden enough.
There's an interesting test for Lambert on Saturday. Let's go on to Tranmere. Tranmere play a 3-5-2. They had a pretty lousy start to the league, but have had a bit of a resurgence of late. It was in the 3-game week where we drew 1 and won 2. They lost to Oxford, drew with Peterborough at home, but then beat Burton last weekend. But they play a 3-5-2 as well. So do we think there's a likelihood of us continuing with the same formation that we supposedly started with MK Dons and then changed, and started with Gillingham, and that gives Dazelle a chance?
Yeah, potentially again. Like Downs has been taken off after sort of 50 minutes and 45 minutes in the last 2 games, which might indicate that he potentially needs a rest. I don't know. It just seemed a strange substitution to get him off. So there's a way there. But I also think I'd like to see, if we do play 3 at the back, I'd like to see Cole Skews as one of those 3 being able to step out from it, because it's harsh on whoever misses out. But Chambers, Wolfenden and Wilson have all played well, but you don't really want to have 3 defenders at the back, do you? You want to have somebody like Wolfenden can play out with the ball, but he's not a passer like Scouse is a passer. And if you could have Wolfenden, Scouse and Chambers there as a 3 with Scouse stepping up, then I think that just gives us a little bit more quality. And we're going to have quality because we're going to need to break this side down on Saturday, because they're not going to be coming here to beat us.
No, you kind of get the sense that it might be similar to the Wimbledon game. I think Tranmere have probably got a little bit more about them. Let's not forget this is a promoted team. We plucked Norwood from them, but they got up through the playoffs. Mickey Whelan's a good coach, kind of through the lower leagues as well. 2 wins, 3 draws, 4 defeats is their record overall. Negative 2 goal difference. Not too many goals in that team with Norwood out of there, but some notable players, some big name players in that squad. Quite a lot of chunky loanees as well. I'll give you some names. The starting lineup is similar to, we've talked about a lot of the teams we played of late. MK Dons, Gillingham as well. It's not household names. We are a League One level. There aren't going to be as many players that people know, but Neil Dans is in this team, signed recently on a free transfer. He's now 36, but people remember him from Cole U, Birmingham, Palace, Leicester, Bolton. Ishmael Miller is there as well. He's only 32. He joined them in January, got injured after 2 appearances and told them to stop paying him until he got fit. and then subsequently signed a new deal in June. So he's there, yet to make an appearance, I believe. Cameron Borthwick-Jackson's on loan from Man United. He's there as well. I don't think he's started a game yet. And Hepburn Murphy is on loan from Villa as well. So there are some household names for those of you who play Football Manager and have been around the Football League for a while. But again, gents, is this a game that at home we should be winning with no? I shudder to say these words because I don't want to get complacent. But this is on paper should be I'm not going to say that word. I'm not going to say the W, but we should be looking to win this game though.
As they always say, the retort to that is that football's played on grass, and I think we can all go back to many seasons where teams have turned up, and certainly Tranmere were one of those in the mid '90s. And I remember I think we lost 2-0 at home to them, and I think about Grimsby in 1992. But yeah. If I hope we beat them, but even more than that, I hope that Norwood scores because I hope he scores more than probably a hat trick, only just because I want to see what his gifts are like about scoring against his last team and whether he can get something on there WWE related. But yeah, I mean, we say it, the strength of our squad is far better than anybody else, and you sent a little bit of a shudder through my spine when you mentioned Ishmael Miller. He's been a good player against us, but no. Well, it's one of the things I've got a little question for you. So the last time that we lost at home to a team whose name started with a T was in October 1996. We lost 2-0 at home. And
I know who it against.
So that was Tranmere, yeah.
Yep.
And that was, I think, was that the one where they had that annoying team photo celebration where they ran and had some team photo? It might have been that game of the season before. But anyway, since then, we've played 4 teams, and you might already have one already at home. The name begins with T that have not beaten us. So who are
Hotspur.
they? Yeah. Sorry, 5.
Torquay.
Yeah.
On the
I'll
League
give you
Cup.
Tranmere. Tranmere was the other one, yeah. So two.
Is there one in the Anglo-Italian Cup, or is that before? That'd be before, wouldn't it?
So at the moment you've got Tranmere, Tottenham, and Torquay.
Is this English league teams or Torpedo Moscow?
Torpedo Moscow.
Joe
Well done.
Fairs.
Yeah.
Joe Fairs ruins every single quiz question.
There's one more. I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't get it. I'll put you out of your misery. It is it's for somebody who's so
is it
interested
friendly,
in the academy. It's Tottenham Hotspur under 21s that we played.
Yeah.
Tenuous. I know, but yeah,
tenuous all day. I don't mind.
We can do a half an hour of tenuous.
Yeah.
So
I think just quickly, sort of going back to Tranmere's record this season, they've won 2 games. One of those games on Saturday against Burton, where they were 1-0 down in the 92nd minute and came back to win that 2-1. The other game was a 5-2 win against Bolton's youth team. They've sort of played them a similar time to us, so. Really, you take that 5-2 win out and you look how many goals they've scored this season. Have you got that in front of you, Rich? I don't know.
Goals scored. They have scored, 14 goals.
So they've effectively scored 9 goals in 9 proper games. They've won 1 proper game, which was 2 injury time goals. This is a team we've got to be putting to the sword, and it's not going to be easy. They're not going to come here to let us play. They're going to come here to stop us playing, and they're going to come here and try and frustrate us. But you've got to be winning games like this at home if you want to be winning the league, and I'm sure that's what we want to do.
And when we should expect Mickey Mellon to be quite wily about this, I don't think he'll be as contentious on the side as Steve Evans was last weekend, but it is going to be a bit of a battle. Thoughts on any changes in personnel? Garbutt came off after 60 minutes on Monday. Do you think, Joe, he's likely to play on the left? Kenlock's kind of disappeared out of the equation now, hasn't he?
Yeah, strange how far he sort of dropped out. That Edwards started ahead of him.
Ooh.
But yeah, so you'd expect, obviously Vincent Young is going to play, isn't he? Holy's going to play. Yeah. Norwood you're not going to be able to stop him playing, so you'd guess it's going to be Norwood and Jackson up front, and then it's that midfield 3 who's going to be in there.
Yeah.
If Scouse drops back into the defence, possibly, would you then, you get Downs, you get John Nolan in there, I think he's going to want to give a start to. I say it's decisions. There's going to be some disappointed players come sort of 2 o'clock on Saturday, and there's going to be some disappointing players come early in that when they're not even in the squad, because there's going to be some good players not even in the 18.
Yeah,
Don't you think some players would be disappointed if this was an international weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fans would be disappointed if it was an international weekend.
Yeah.
How shit must you be that we've got players out and you still can't even get it.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a real problem for us when we've still got injuries and players to come back. Nsiala is a name that I was going to chuck in there. I suspect he's not going to start. But Wilson appears to have played himself into a starting position there. It's going to be, as much as I think I take the point from Joe about Scouse being a useful player to have sitting in that 3 to then move forward when we're in an attacking phase. Wilson had a great game against MK Dons, and it sounds like he followed it up. Stat, would you change the back 3?
No.
I
like Joe's idea of Scouse dropping back, but it wasn't. Well, it was July time, and I went down to the club shop with Master Stat, and he bought the away shirt, and he said, I want Nsiala on it. And then he looked and he went, oh, he's number 22. He said, yeah. He said, do you think he's going to play? I said, yeah, nailed on. And now I look and I think he seems to have dropped so far down the pecking order. I think Wilson is ahead of him now. And realistically, I just see Nsiala coming in if there's a significant injury, or if not, just getting the odd sort of game here and there now. I think he hasn't done a lot, has he, Joe? He's certainly, like you said, in the game on Monday night. Whenever he has an opportunity to put himself in the shop window, he seems to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, well, he must be frustrated because he ended the season strongly, and he's picked up a muscle injury in pre-season, which Lambert seems to be furious about. So there's obviously an element that he didn't warm up properly, or that it seems to Lambert that the injury was inexcusable, that it happened how it did. So, and because of that, we've had to sign Wilson, where realistically, if Nsiala was fit, it would have been Chambers and Nsiala starting this season, wouldn't it? But Wolfenden's come in and done so well, and he's sort of pushed on, and I just don't see how Nsiala gets back in at the moment.
Yeah,
maybe for the away games like the Gillingham game on Saturday, where we're expecting long balls lumped forward all game. It's going to be a bit of a battle at the back. It might become horses for courses, and he gets a game like that. But I think at home, I just don't see the need for him in there.
Yep. I recommend if you're not a subscriber to it, then not the top 20 pod talked about us for an extended spell this week. They went to the MK Dons game and sat in the away end and were quite impressed with us. Though I've echoed similar thoughts we've had about us sticking a performance in that lasts for 90 minutes or more than 45 minutes, which is something we're still yet to do. But they do say that unlike Sunderland and Peterborough and Portsmouth last season, we are winning the games that we should be winning to put in a title claim. And gents, this seems to be another one that fits the bill. But thoughts, just one question I want to end on, and I don't want to end on a kind of a negative, because we've had so much to be happy about and positive about. But do you fear the kind of building momentum leads to complacency, leads to us underestimating opponents? Because Joe, you've talked about people slagging off League One. I think you're right that probably people are over-egging that a little bit, but is there a fear that there's a little bit of complacency, or do you think Lambert is able to control that? So I'll come to you on that one. Thoughts about maybe supporters needing to be a little bit more realistic, or maybe the players in the club, or is it just a case of we need to use our status, and now we're top of the league, to scare opponents before we even kick a ball?
It wouldn't have been that long ago that a manager would have said Tranmere are no mugs, that despite where they are in the table. I think it is different in position. Yeah, I think it is different in League One, and what you said, it kind of. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I like the fact that we could scare teams, and teams are thinking, oh my, we're going to Portman Road, or Ipswich are coming here today, and look who they've got, and got your Norwoods and your Jacksons, you got Dazelle, you got Judge or Keane or whatever, they're back 4, back 5, whatever, never letting a goal. Their keeper's great, and it's nice for a while to actually have the opposition worry about us. Complacency doesn't bother me that much. And I'm sure you might get a little bit, but I don't think Lambert would let them far off the lead with that one.
Okay. Joe, anything to add on that point?
Yeah, I think Lambert will not sort of let that happen, that complacency. He's been a manager that's won leagues before. He knows how relentless it is, that you have to just keep going, you don't stop. The pace needs to stay up there, and also I think part of why Lambert's recruitment has been so successful is the characters he's brought into the team. Alongside your Chambers and your Scooses, a sort of Norwood seems a big character. Vincent Young seems a good character. Thomas Holy seems
brilliant,
a legend.
His
already.
Interviews are fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah.
Loved Thomas Holy. Yeah,
And it just seems that the squad want to get up this year, and there seems a real sort of purpose in it, and that comes from the top down. And we seem like we've got the right blend of players, and sort of things have started better than any Ipswich fan could imagine it could have started this well. I think this is sort of the dream territory. Unbeaten after 6 wins,
5 clean sheets. Is it 6?
Or 6
in total?
5 in a row,
Yeah.
but 6 in total. Yeah, and we just, I say, we haven't clicked really, but we've lifted that malaise from the club last year, and the fans have played a huge part in that. The numbers we're taking is incredible everywhere. The home support is incredible. Everything is going in the right direction. I think it's going to take a lot to knock us off course.
Oh, I can't beat that. Let's sum up our Tranmere coverage with that comment. I just wanted to call out a few fixtures that are coming up this weekend as well. Blackpool Lincoln on Friday. It's Michael Atherton's first job. The 6-0 defeat last week, I think people were unfairly crediting him. I think he was in the stands, but there's a Friday night game which is Blackpool Lincoln. Rotherham away at Bristol Rovers. Richard Woodward's Coventry City are home to Doncaster, although they're not at home. They're at St Andrews. That's a disgrace. Peterborough have got Wimbledon without Wally Downs, who is suspended for betting irregularities, and in the words of Mikey Penty-Smith, what a Wally.
Can't have too much sympathy for Wally Downs after
No.
a lot of his issues he had before he was appointed.
Amy's uncle. Portsmouth home to Bolton. Portsmouth off the back of that, what looked like, Joe, you watching, did you see the start, their League Cup tie? They started really positively, didn't score, Southampton sucker punch, and then they get turned over 4-0. It's not looking good for Jacket, and if Bolton turn up like they appeared to do against Sunderland last week and get a result there, that might be it for Jacket, do we think?
Yeah, well, he can't be far off. They're one of the favourites to go up this year, and they've got, 6 points this season, have they? 7 points? I don't know. Like I say,
I was going to say it's early, but it's almost the end of September.
Well, we're 15 points ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like, they're one of our title contenders, and we're 15 points ahead of them.
Yeah. Wickham, who are third, travel to Rochdale, and Sunderland are home to MK Dons, where our own Benjamin Bloom is watching as we record the League Cup tie against Liverpool. I don't know what that is, but if MK Dons win there, which it's a makeshift Liverpool team. If there's a result,
I think
there
they've
for
made
MK Dons,
11 changes, haven't they?
and Sunderland again, as Joe mentioned, Jack Ross under pressure there as well. Draw wins Bolton, I've just mentioned. That could be tasty as well. So what's good is teams around us who should be challenging are a little bit dysfunctional at the moment. So no excuses for us. Let's do some questions from Twitter. And I've just clicked away from the bloody thread, so look at me padding like the professional.
Liverpool are 1-0 up for a James Milner goal.
James Milner, you
Got
can
a
rely
very
on
young
him.
team out there today, so there's some space filled for you, Rich.
Thank you very much, Joe. Garfield, ITFC, Garfield. When we start the questions out, we were kind of asking about the month ahead for October as well. One of the things that's coming up for us, and that will be a test of our credentials, is Accrington away on Sky, where we've got frankly, I nearly swore there, a really terrible record. Will we finally break our awful record in televised games by playing well and winning at Accrington?
Yeah, I think we'll put on a performance that will people will sit up and think Ipswich are certainly on the up. So no, I ain't got a problem with Accrington standing. Should even be in the same league as them.
I'll put out a guarantee that we will be better than we were against them when we played them in January.
Yeah,
that's a good shout.
It was bad enough that it wasn't bad enough because it's the magic of the FA Cup that a team like Accrington can play Ipswich Town. But the fact that we're going to play them in the league match is a bit of a shocker. So yeah, let's not even talk about even not winning that game. So make sure you record that bit and play it back to me when
I will.
when we do lose.
It's only a few weeks away. Is it the first time we're playing Accrington in the league in our history? Stat.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
One of those firsts that you don't really want, but fair play to Accrington. Andy Grimes, do you think that our unpredictable lineups and formations are actually our greatest strength if we can't foresee what Lambert is going to do, how can the opposition? Joe, your thoughts on that? I mean, Harry from Bath would be tearing his hair out trying to do a preview show about us, wouldn't he?
Yes, it's like we're just trying to get everyone up to full match fitness, that we're just trying to give people minutes as and when to try and get them up, as opposed to actually picking what we think is the best team, and we're still managing to win whilst doing so. So it's good, and I'm sure there is an element that, but we do seem to be looking to match up with the opposition a little bit formation wise and just overpower them with our sort of stronger players. The one time we didn't was probably our most disappointing performance against Doncaster at home.
And the first half of Wimbledon maybe as well. I'm trying to think back what that was. That was a
was that the first 4-5-1 really, wasn't it? That was a 4-3-3, but with
one of the things. Sorry, Rich. One of the things. We talk about the strength of the squad, and players will be thinking that they should be starting every week or whatever. And I think it's probably Lambert's experience actually managing the squad and trying to keep everybody happy, because at some point he's not going to be able to keep everybody happy. I don't think so. I think if you're doing well and people think, well, yeah, I'm getting on, I'm getting the odd start, I'm playing 60 minutes here or there, it's far better than actually saying, well, actually here's my strongest team, I'm going to stick with that. And then you've got the likes of, I don't know, Amir Hughes, John Nolan, Enciala, who are just thinking, we're just waiting here for an injury. And at the moment, they're just waiting for their opportunity to make sure they keep fit and they know that they'll get in the team.
Is there something to be said for keeping the players on their toes so that they keep their performances up as well? If you can be rotated in and out of the squads, does that raise their game, Joe? Thoughts on that one?
It's hard to tell, really, isn't it? If the team keeps winning, then it's difficult for the players to ask questions when they get. It's if we are rotating players out and then we're not picking up results. Like, I'm sure that last-minute goal against AFC Wimbledon saved Paul Lambert having Luke Chambers knocking on his door first thing in the morning to say, you should have played me last night. And it's always going to be that way. But at the end of the day, if we're successful, we will be. All the players will be happy, and that's fine. And that is going to be the hardest part of Lambert's job this year, keeping all the players happy.
Yep. Dylan asks, what is your favourite ever town chant? I'll have one from both of you. Is it the Ipswich women chant that sang at the start?
Yeah,
I like the one about the scum from Norwich City going to Rome to see the Pope. Obviously, the language gets a bit blue after that one.
Yeah, being a Catholic, I struggle with singing that song. I used to like Over Land and Sea. We're all following Ipswich onto victory.
I've missed the I missed the blue flag flying eye. We used to sing that quite a lot back in the 90s as well, but that's gone.
Maybe that's why we haven't been to Wembley for.
Exactly right. We've not been asking for it, have we?
Actually, I know what I miss. I missed the chant of Boncho.
That's a good chant, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
Proper player chants. We don't have it anymore. I mean, remember going to the games in the 90s and stuff like that, and you get there an hour before kick-off or whatever, and the players would be out there warming up, and they'd all have their own little their little chants, and maybe 3 or 4 players had the same one to with just their name in it, but. No, that's it. I'm going to go with the Boncho chant.
I won't miss the Toto Enciala chant when that dies out in a few weeks.
No, I could have put that in the news, but I didn't. Twitter has had a bit of and Facebook's had a bit of a barney about that this week.
I've got to say, I don't think I know what the song is. I don't know the words of the song, but there was an argument on Twitter, and I don't really want to start this up here because we'll just get ourselves in all sorts of trouble, but somebody was claiming that the chant was racist, and another person was saying that it wasn't racist, and then at that point I kind of made a beeping noise and thought, I'm not even going to... But so obviously, is it racist or not?
I think the chant should just be Enciala, oh, it's bigger than a bread bin, you can put it in your mouth.
Right, hang on, I'm going to write that down.
That is 53 minutes. I'm just going to figure out if I'm going to cut that bit out. Moving on. This is I don't think I've got an answer to this. It's a great question. And it starts as most good Twitter questions should start, which is, great pod, Team Blue Monday. Thanks, plain old NH. From Harridge, I think. Just wondered whether you had more listeners/subscribers this season when things on the pitch are going better. So the honest answer to that question is I don't know, but what I do know is that when stuff kicked off and was bad, we used to get a spike. So when Paul Hurst got sacked, I think Harry and I were supposed to do a normal preview show for Millwall. Hurst got sacked, and suddenly and Dave came in, and our hits went up maybe twice as much. So I think every now and then a bit of misery did well for us. But I'd like to think, plain old NH, that the quality is good and there's more exciting stuff to talk about. So fingers crossed. But if you want to find out stats, I think Ben's the one to ask. So we'll get him. No, do you want to show off our stats? I don't think we do we? Gareth Beanie, moving on again. Why doesn't Lambert go for the leasing.com trophy? I love how we're on brand. We have a big enough squad to be successful on big fronts, and just imagine doing what I think would be our first ever league and cup double. I'll go to you, Stout, on this one. Are you all for big on the EFL trophy?
Oh, without a doubt, 5,000 million%, because I'd like to go and watch my team at Wembley.
Keep the blue flag flying, aye.
Yeah. So yeah, let's take it incredibly serious. And what was that? Was the final between Portsmouth and Sunderland? Yeah. And that was on TV. Watched that on Sky, and I've got to say, I don't think anybody who was there and it was a cracking game and great atmosphere and stuff like that. I don't think everybody that was there thinking, can't believe we took this competition seriously. So no, I think we should, but let's not let it get in the way of the league. But I don't think it will. I think whoever that I was going to say your previous caller was, they're
Gareth.
right. Gareth, first league and cup double. I like that. Yeah.
And I think there's an element like the big clubs in the sort of FA Cup and League Cup where you don't take it seriously. You play your weekend teams, and then if you find yourself in a position where you're in sort of like the semi-finals and you're sort of going for it, at that point you then put out better teams. And I think that's all we need to do. The team we played against Spurs, I'd expect to play a similar team against Gillingham, a similar team against Colchester, and then maybe in the next round after that, then all of a sudden you're a game or two from Wembley, and then maybe at that point you sort of assess it, and you can get some of the big boys out, but you don't need to go for it from the first round and put your strongest team out in the early rounds. You sort of assess it once you get a bit further into the season.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that we're one of the only 92 teams who have not featured at New Wembley yet, so it'd be good to break our duck on that one. Isaac asks, will Roberts get near the first team or the league? Or will he be loaned out to a lower league team soon? And let me add this as well, Joe. I'm going to give this one to you. So, thoughts on Roberts getting in the first team or whether he's going to go out on loan? Similarly, Ben Aurier asks us about Ben Morris and Ben Falami, who have both obviously struggled from injuries, but with both good potential. Routes into the first team for those three?
Well, Jordan Roberts isn't going to go out on loan because the only place he can go out on loan until January is non-league, and that's too low for him to go out there. So I'd imagine he'll continue to play in the EFL trophy games, and if there's an injury up front, he's sort of there. But I don't think he's really going to get in the team. I think he'd been held on to. I think Cole's still quite interested in him just before the deadline, but I think he's been held on to just because we're short of bodies up front. And once Sears is back and Keane up to full speed, he's probably not going to be required. Ben Falami obviously has been back for the under 23s and sort of played the last sort of 2 or 3 games, or appeared in the last 2 or 3 games. Again, he could probably do with a loan spell, but isn't really going to get one at a level that's worthwhile for him in the league. So it's just a case of impressing and trying to get a chance. I think Ben Morris is still not back, and he probably is a little bit more versatile because he can play in those wide roles. And if when Sears is back and Lancaster back, if sort of any time this season, I can imagine we're going to be playing in that sort of 4-3-3 with wide strikers, and I think that could be a way that it opens up a little bit for Ben Morris to potentially get a game.
I like the look of Ben Morris. I hope he finds his way back into the team. Stubbsy at Rick Stew asks, regarding ex-Tranmere players, if you could only have one, which player would you prefer in our current squad out of James Norwood or Aaron Cresswell? Stat. I mean, if we're gonna say I was going to say Tranmere players at their prime. I think it's because they're both still playing. Cresswell obviously scored that cracking free kick against Man United at the weekend. Clearly, if James Norwood isn't in our team, we lack a striker anyway. So that kind of. But yeah, let's have. I'll open up the question, if that's all right, Stubbsy, for any Tranmere player that you can recall who's played for both teams and in their prime that you would stick into our 11 right now.
Oh, Daryl would love this, wouldn't he? With players with links between both. John McGreal was the one that I kind of thought of when you listed the two names. I'm going to answer the question that Stubbsy asked.
All right. And good for you. Yeah.
It's not hard to pick a player because only one of them is an England international. but we don't need a left back, so I'll stick with James Norwood. Thank you.
Joe?
I'd take Aaron Creswell. I think left back is probably one of our weaker areas with Miles Kenlock there starting. Luke Garbett hasn't impressed me defensively when he's in there. He offers it attackingly, but we know that Creswell can defend and attack.
Yep.
Like a World in Motion song. And
What are his gifts like? I haven't even looked at his gifts. I mean, are they any good?
the thought of Kane Vincent Young and Aaron Creswell as two wing backs in a system is pretty exciting.
Sexy. That is good. Arthur Pickthorne, what would your five-a-side team be from the current town squad? Should we do this together? So, are we having a keeper or are we having a rush keeper?
Got to have a keeper. Not allowed out of his area. Thomas Holy.
Holy. What's our formation then?
I'm just saying he's quite... But he's quite tall. I think five-a-side. I think about five-a-side goals.
If he could just lay down, though, he'd almost.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Holy's in, right?
Holy's in, and then what, are we doing? Any defenders?
Kane Vincent Young as a one defender.
Yeah. Okay. Who are we having up front, by the way?
Andre Dizelle.
Okay. Oh, and a five-side. I don't know.
I think you'd want. I'd probably go with Alan Judge in there.
I'd want Downs because you need someone who's going to get in a fight.
Yeah.
If it's five-a-side on
Young,
Tuesday night,
Judge, Downs, and
Norwood as well.
Yeah.
How many is that? Holy, Vincent Young, Downs, Judge, Norwood. 5.
Yeah.
We're happy with that? Start.
Andre Dizelle's not. No.
Emma Hughes in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually,
John Nolan actually would.
You could put Emma Hughes instead of Flynn Downs because he can put himself about as well as.
And Norwood will get in a scrap as well.
As well as more of having a goal for it.
I'll tell you who'd be good in a five-a-side. Paul Lambert. I'd have him.
Paul
Whenever you
Lambert.
play five-a-side, you always have some old guy, and you think, oh yeah, no, he's not got anything, and he can just stroll around.
No one gets near him all game.
Yeah.
Just John Walker in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. We need to. I think there's a variation on this question after. I think we'll come back to this one, but we've given it a go there. Tim Pashley asks a kind of continuance on the Sky question. Should we forego Sky money? We never perform on Sky. We think we can perform on Sky now, don't we? We'll take the money as well.
Yeah.
At this
we
level.
need the money.
Nick P982 asks, any plans for another live show? Well, I can give an exclusive announcement that yes, there will be another live show. What happens is Ben and
get my agent. Please,
yeah.
Thanks.
We're all getting pay rises. No, there's no pay for this. Ben and Andy Warren they meet in a neutral territory. It's like no man's land. Do you remember that Second World War game of football between
they're meeting on Christmas Day.
Germany versus it? Yeah, they meet in the middle. We have a ceasefire and we agree that we won't do live events at the same time. So the Kings of Anglia guys have got their event at the end of the year. We are looking at doing one, I think, probably not in the winter because now the winter is always issues about cups. Weather is always a logistical obstacle as well.
They're in December as well, aren't they?
I think it's December. So I think we're looking around March. So if there's a home fixture in March, then there's a good chance at the moment that it might end up being a Blue Monday live event.
I was going to ask a question, Rich. Who's from Blue Monday on their show? On
the Kings of Anglia event? Oh, I don't know. It's a great question. Maybe we should tweet it in as a podcast question when they record next week.
You think they'd return the favour, wouldn't you?
Are you pitching? Are you pitching for?
You can see why Ben and Andy meet and don't send me along and talk to Mark.
Yeah, we'll send you in when the negotiations start going wrong. Yeah. We'll need to kick off of it. So there will be a Blue Monday event. I think Ben and I have had a bit of a chat, and this is a bit of a heads up as well, that we might do something mini. Maybe record the pod somewhere together. And not do it as a full event, but maybe get people along to that perhaps. But there will be a proper event. We don't know where it will be. Probably similar numbers to last time as well. Hopefully some exclusive guests and some great fun bands. But it was great fun, wasn't it, last year, gents? So this year, wasn't it? It was February. So keep your eyes peeled. More on that to follow. Joe, our mate Alex Mills. When will the North Stand chant "Be careful what you wish for" to the tune of the referees a special? I'm pitching that as a chant. I quite like that.
I think we need Mikey down there at the front of the North Stand, like the guy at Portland Timbers with his megaphone and his
turning round to face the fans rather than the football. Yeah.
I think you've got the wrong chant to it though, but because I'm pretty
Are you
certain.
going to sing again, Stat? Are you going to sing again? Come on.
Yeah, no, when we played Reading away and we beat them 4-0, it wasn't the chant do be careful what you wish for, like to the tune of whatever that is, the Agadoo, yeah.
I'm loving this. I think that needs to be a chant. As long as we keep winning, that is.
Yeah.
James Golk, Warwickshire alumni. James Golk, salute to you. Man City Watford. Am I the only one who morbidly enjoys our biggest defeat in Premier League history record and wants it kept? Maybe it's so we aren't forgotten in the Premier League world, but his words, not mine, the words of Shakin' Stephen, the words of James Golk. I'm genuinely proud of it. Stat, are you genuinely proud of having the record defeat in the Premier League?
James, delete your Twitter account. I think it's what you need to do first of all.
I think Andy Warren posted something that he quite likes having it.
There's two things I hate. One is having the record. No, actually, there's three things, and I won't go into it. There's three things I hate. One is having the record. Two are people tweeting whenever a team suddenly goes 4 or 5-0 up.
Free the Ipswich 9.
Yeah. And then the third thing I hate is the fact that I then got carried away and started tweeting at myself when Man City went 8-0 or 7-0 up, and I thought it was going to happen. So somebody just needs to win, and it will be Man City against someone. It won't be any other team. That will be Man City full stop. We'll beat a team 9 or 10-0. It'll be 25 years next March. 25 years next March that we lost 9-0, and we're still talking about it. No, I hate it. And
what no one talks about, and I think Ollie Moore tweets this, or someone, maybe it's tricky, that we beat United at home and they lost the title by 1 point, didn't they? They didn't. So
Adrian Paz's
and also Andy Cole claimed 5 goals when one of them was clearly a Frank Yallop own goal.
Yeah. Paul Ince free kick.
One of the goals, Craig Forrest
free kick. Yeah. Paul Ince took that. Yeah,
it's a joke.
Whenever they have Paul Ince on the TV, not a lot now, but when they used to have him, they say 325 games and 79 goals for Manchester United. I'd always go 78. Because that was not allowed, that goal.
And Ian Marshall tells a funny story about this, where him and George Burley didn't get on great, as you could probably imagine. And at 6 or 7-0, Burley sent Ian Marshall to warm up. What's the point? I'm a striker. And he made him go, and it was almost like a show of power. So Ian Marshall went down, and there was an ambulance parked in the corner of the pitch. And he just went and sat down behind the ambulance, and he ignored any shouts from the bench to go back there, because he didn't want to come on as a striker when you're already 7-8-0 down.
I love that. That's a great story.
Maybe Burley was thinking about converting him back into centre half.
Let's go to the
Royal thinks he would have played for England had he stayed as a centre half.
Oh,
wow.
We'd have missed out one of the best strikers of the 90s in the Matthew Marshall partnership. So, James, I think we've answered that one for you. I recommend some kind of counselling on that one. Mullet, Tranmere always makes me nostalgic. Which other clubs do you look forward to playing because they bring back good memories? It's worth checking out the thread that follows, because I don't recall too many good memories against Tranmere, but I'm largely recalling the mid 90s when I think they beat us
on a Friday night.
There was a few defeats in a row as well against Tranmere, but I think towards the latter end, the more recent history, I think we've been alright. But to his question, any other teams that you look forward to playing because of nostalgic reasons, Joe?
I used to always like a game against Nottingham Forest, because they were always good games against them, always tough games, but always good footballing games. But we played them so many times over the last few years that I've lost it. I'd look forward to playing teams like Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea regularly. Like I say, we always had a decent record against Spurs, so maybe start playing them regularly again.
Yeah. Stat.
Is it too early to have nostalgia for playing any team in the Championship?
It depends who it is. Go on.
No, I just mean any team in the Championship.
Okay.
Sorry.
So your standard is even less than Joe's.
Yeah, Joe's standards are much higher than mine. But yeah,
do you remember
step at a time.
The big matches
Chester City?
Okay.
Yeah, Chester City. But no, I don't. Not like you, Rich. Obviously, you got two clubs with Ipswich and Coventry.
And Villa. Don't forget Villa as well.
Yeah, all in the same country. But I think a lot of people have clubs from other countries that they look forward. Look for their results. I used to have a thing for Parma in the mid 90s, and I think Faustino Esprilla was playing for them, and so a little thing for Parma. But then I think they went to the wall. Glasgow Celtic, but no, you can't have another English team that you have a soft spot for. Sorry.
How dare you? I don't live in Ipswich anymore. I have to have some interest up here. Otherwise, what's the point?
So are you saying that if you don't live in Ipswich that you're not a proper fan then?
Yeah. I've just made my own argument for myself.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I didn't say it.
Yeah. I'm saying it. Yep, you're putting words in my mouth, and I'm sticking with it. This is going to look really bad. So Will Aries asked a question about Dazelle. I think we've answered that, Will. But the way I've structured, the way I've gone through the sequence of tweets ends with Mikey Penty Smith. So apologies to everyone who's not a member of the Blue Monday podcast team. That Mikey's is the last question. Let's hope it's not one of these ones that I don't understand. We picked up. We've already answered this one. Do you think we should look to postpone our game against Wickham? No.
That's a bland question from
Mikey. There's some good stuff on the thread. I would encourage you to have a look at Jason's quiz question, which is a photo, so I can't really share that.
Can we see it? Can you hold it up to the camera?
Let's see if that works. That'll be very small though. I think that is him. That's him being taken with Brian Talbot coming out. That's the age of the photo. So that's worth a look, as is the discussion about Tranmere and the AC Milan away kit in the FA Cup in 93, 94 or whatever it was.
Oh, that was a nice one.
That was a good kit.
Can I plug a thread?
If you want.
So there's usually one day a year where I tweet happy birthday for somebody.
Please do this.
But today's Paul Hurst's 45th birthday. He was our 16th Ipswich manager, put 15 games in charge, never won a game in England, 149 days he was actually in charge. Just search that and look at the gifts that have responded. People have replied. There's lots of shuddering, a lot of people saying it's a no from me. And the further you go down, the greater the abuse gets. So
I think I need to contribute to that one.
You can start off as like an 11-year-old, and I'm sure we have plenty of 11-year-olds, listening to the Blue Monday pod. You can look at the first couple of gifts, but if you're going to need to be 18 before you get to sort of reply 27 or something like that, because they're quite funny. And I'm assuming that they are replying about Paul Hurst, not me. So if you were actually calling me out on something, then please make it clear. But I think it is Paul Hurst.
Slide into his DMs. That's a great segue for Play Your Stats Right, which this time around is manager win percentages. So I'm going to, because Joe's on and not Dave, I'm going to start in the 90s with John Lyle, and I'm going to give you his win percentage to start with. Go on then.
I think it's something like 33.3%.
33%. I've rounded up. John Lyle on 33%. It gets easier.
It's the only one I know. I haven't cheated. It's the only one I know.
I know. I haven't given it yet. So George Burley's next. Do we think George Burley's win percentage is higher or lower than 33%?
Yeah, it's got to be higher because he had sort of 5 good winning seasons, didn't he? Maybe
40,
39, 41.
Stat 46%, 45,
45.86, I think it was.
Bloody hell.
I don't know.
I've always picked the worst category. I need to make this more difficult. Next up, Joe Royal, higher or lower than 46% win ratio?
I think he's a bit lower, Joe. I'd go about 42-ish, I think.
I don't know. He had sort of 2 good seasons, didn't he? He had 3.
Yeah, but he had that.
Yeah, but 46 is very high, though, isn't it? So I reckon it's shade under that.
43%, correct. 43. Shade underneath. Next up, Jim Magilton, higher or lower than 43%?
Jim Magilton, lower at 37.84%.
I think lower than that, 35.
Stat, 38%. And as I said, I've rounded as well.
He sticks in my mind because I liked it when it got to a point with Mick McCarthy, and it was just another stat to bash McCarthy about, to say that Jim Magilton had a better win percentage than Mick McCarthy did. So.
Well, let's find out. Let's not spoil it even more than it's been spoiled on mine. Jim Magilton, we move on to Roy Keane. Higher or lower than 38%?
Lower.
How far lower on them? How far lower?
34, 35.
34.1 or something, yeah.
35%, well done, Joe.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Roy Keane to Paul Jewell. Higher or lower than 35%?
It's almost exactly the same, wasn't it?
Joe Fairs. It is exactly the same. I was doing a trick question. If my rounding is
Roy Keane's cup competitions brought him up, I think.
Yeah, I don't get triggered by this. anymore. Clearly, but no. If you look at it, if you go to certainly one decimal point, then you'll find that Roy Keane has a greater win percentage than Paul Jewell. But yeah, there's not a lot between them.
So again, my rounding I think is going to screw things over here. But Mick McCarthy higher or lower than 35%, and higher or lower than Jim Magilton's 38%.
And this is
Surprised if he ended up in maybe slightly over Jim, but maybe between the two.
I'm going to go. Oh, that is it. That is.
So it's higher than Paul Jewell, yeah? We happy with higher or lower than Paul Jewell?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
And Jim Magilton was higher at one point than Mick McCarthy, but he didn't have a lot of wins, did he? Towards the end, and I'd say just a bit below.
I reckon, yeah, shade below.
So again, my rounding is a factor here. I've got 38% as well for Mick, which is the same as I've got for Jim, but we're talking noise, that's the difference there. And we'll end with the aforementioned Paul Hurst, higher or lower than 38%. Can anyone remember what his win ratio was?
Well, it's 1 in 16, isn't it?
6.67%.
Rounded up to a nice round 7%.
Don't give him 7. He doesn't deserve a 7.
Even it's his birthday.
Paul Lambert would have been not much above 7% until this season started.
Yeah, have you got? I haven't got that one. Do you know what it is at the moment, Stan?
Well, it's 35 games last year, 9 this year.
Didn't you say that he just got surpassed Paul Jewell? Or was that
10 wins in 45?
Was that loss percentage?
10 wins in 40 league matches. Yeah. So
his loss percentage is better than Paul Jewell's.
25%.
Yeah, he's boosted it the last few weeks.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, another classic play your stats right there, where everyone knows the answer. I need to try much harder. Gents,
I like to call it. Sorry, some people, if they're a lawyer, you can only call yourself a lawyer if you've got a particular qualification. I don't like the fact that you're calling this play your stats right when you're just not even going to more than 1 decimal point. Can you just call it play your numbers right, or just write a couple of numbers on a piece of paper and turn it into a competition?
Are you not saying that I'm playing my stats wrong stat? Is that what you're saying? Are you calling me out on the pod?
I think particularly in this game, if we are going to go down there, I think in this game you kind of you muddied the waters. Particularly Paul Hurst 7% was nowhere near. Roy Keane and Paul Jewell are the same, which isn't right. So,
well, making his last appearance on the Blue Monday podcast, that's from the Renegade Stat.
Yes, mate. Yes.
No, I've enjoyed that, gents. I've got a question for you. Is this the first time that this configuration of the two of you with our host has happened? Am I fortunate to be doing this experimental front two?
We've done it as a 4, haven't we?
You've done the quad pod.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever?
As a 3.
There you go. Well, I'm pleased to have brought this partnership together. I think it was a very enjoyable show. 1 hour, over an hour and 50 minutes, an hour or more of football conversation. Let me quickly do some plugs. You can find our channel at Blue Monday ITFC on Twitter. At Benjamin Bloom, I think, is the channel on YouTube where you can find all of our stuff, as well as his brilliant match day experiences, his match reviews, his preview shows, and some of his Ipswich Town videos as well. Gents, where can we find you on Twitter? Joe, your 2 accounts?
Yeah, I'm not really on it that much on @JoeFairs at the moment, but I'm still tweeting @ITFC_academy.
And you're on Instagram as well, or do you want to publicise that?
It's just @JoeFairs. I'm pretty easy to find because there's not many Joe Fairs about.
Stat, where can we find your Paul Hurst birthday GIF thread?
At Chomp X3. But yeah, the thing I wanted to plug is that myself and DD, who's left me again, is in the States. We've already started compiling a list of games, so finally this week in ITFC history hopefully will be recorded by this time next week.
Oh, magic.
Yeah,
there you go. Jules and ITFC clan, you can
our 2 fans
set your
will
calendars.
be happy. Yeah,
all right, so it's the funniest show that I listen to of all we do. It's the one where the banter is the best, I think. You and Dave, it's a good partnership. The 2 statesmen of the pod.
It would be wrong of me to it wouldn't be wrong of me to plug my own show. Sorry, Dave. Mine is show. But I still listen to the previous shows, and I've got to say, actually, they make me laugh out loud. So what does that mean?
Brilliant. There you go. Well, the similarly brilliant Ben Bloom and Mikey Penty-Smith, along with to a less extent, Coventry supporting Ipswich, Richard Woodward, will be on the flagship show on Sunday. So tune in then, gents. I'll let you have a last word each. I'm seeing it with Stat above Joe in my Skype call. So Stat for last word from you, and then Joe, you can have the last word of the show.
If you're a Coventry fan, is Amy a Leeds fan?
Joe.
No comment.